Davis here, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my honest experience at working at one of the most prestigious companies in the world, Bain& Company. So I'm going to be sharing with you my experience of working at Bain & Company as a management consultant. I'm going to share with you what I liked about working at Bain
and what I didn't.
And this is coming from someone who not only worked at Bain & Company, but also has helped over 600 people start their career in management consulting, many of them at Bain & Company. So I have a lot of reference experience to work with. And if you're someone who's considering working at Bain, this video could be the most important video that you watch today, because you might find out that Bain is your dream job, or you might find out working at Bain is going to be a nightmare for you. So my goal by the end of this video is you'll know if Bain is the right fit for you. So keep in mind that these are just my opinions, and so you want to take this with a grain of salt. And if you agree or disagree with anything, or you just want to add your 2 cents, leave it in the comments. That way everyone can benefit. And make sure to watch until the very end, and you'll learn why I personally chose Bain instead of McKinsey, BCG, and all the other amazing firms I could have worked at. If you want more videos like these covering what it's like to work as a management consultant at Bain, tap the like button and I'll create more. I didn't decide to apply to Bain or even any management consulting firm until my final year of university. In fact, up to that point, I didn't even know what management consulting was. And when I found out, it was just right before the deadlines. I grew up in a low-income community where going to college wasn't the norm, and getting into college was enough reason to celebrate. When I got to Yale and my classmates were talking about wanting to be bankers, I thought to myself, I know plenty of bank tellers back at home. I don't think you need to wait 4 years or have a Yale degree to start being a banker. That's how clueless I was at all the possible career paths ahead of me. My classmates were talking about investment banking jobs on Wall Street, and I thought they were talking about becoming a bank teller at the local bank down the street. But I did know that I wanted to be an entrepreneur because I love creating opportunities for others. And I've loved doing that since I was young. During my summer in college, I found that I really enjoyed early stage startups. That is, companies with about fewer than 10 employees led by the founders and CEOs who I thought had strong records. I joined 2 startups and later found out that the CEO of one of them was a former Deloitte partner and the other one was an executive at JP who had hired numerous McKinsey teams. The CEO at the other startup had previously worked at JP where he would hire teams of McKinsey consultants to work with him and his team. So they both had experience with management consultants. At the end of each summer, each of the CEOs would tell me that, Davis, you're going to be a great entrepreneur. You have the care for the people, the drive, and the hustle. But I think you should consider going to a place like Bain or McKinsey first and become a management consultant. They thought I would benefit from the structured training that a career in consulting would provide, the network I would gain, and the mental toughness I would develop. I took their advice, returned to my campus my senior year, and started recruiting for consulting. I researched into the different firms, but I found myself most attracted to Bain, especially when I looked up the list of alums who had worked at Bain. Many of them were entrepreneurs who would end up being my mentors later on. For example, Andy Dunn, who founded Bonobos, Adam Braun, who founded Pencils of Promise, Paul Kadakia, who founded ClassPass, Dave Gilboa, who founded Warby Parker, and so many others. I thought that Bain was a training ground for so many entrepreneurs. I'll start by saying that all consulting firms, their most important asset is their people, and thus they invest a lot of time and training into those people. The people are the #1 assets, because without people, there is no consulting firm. That being said, there is one thing that distinguishes Bain from many other firms. That is their local staffing model. The local staffing model means that you don't travel as much, you work with the same people from your office, and as a result, you grow a relationship with the people who are in your office. When I found out about the local staffing model, I knew I wanted to work at a firm that had one. And in fact, when I was at Bain, because people were locally staffed, so every Friday when the whole office was together, having lunch together, having evening events or afternoon drinks, I knew about 400 of the 500 people who were in the Bain office personally. I either worked with them on cases or what Bain called extra 10s, which are extracurricular clubs at Bain, such as the poker club or speaker series lunches, where people would share about their experiences. The local staffing model was one of the reasons why I was able to make so many friends and mentors during my time at Bain. I got to see them through the projects as well as activities that we worked on together. My decision to accept my offer at Bain was one of the best, if not the best decision I could have made for my career. I wouldn't be where I am today had it not been for my time at Bain. I wouldn't be a capable entrepreneur. I wouldn't be a willing philanthropist. And I wouldn't have been able to speak at TEDx. In fact, if you told me that tomorrow I had to go back to Bain, there'll be a lot that I would be happy about. I have former partners and managers who I worked with during my time at Bain who continue to reach out to me for positions to come back to Bain. When you boil it down, there were 3 things about Bain that made the Bain experience so unique. First is the training. From the first day I started at Bain, I was exposed to a variety of different projects. For example, I worked in the private equity group, which allowed me to develop my business skills quite quickly as I was working in different industries every few weeks. It was like going through Navy SEALs training, but for your mind and your business skills. A peer culture where I met my best friends. Many of the people who I met at Bain will be at my wedding. Every time I'm in a new city, I always check to see if any Bainies I knew during my time at Bain works there, either directly from the San Francisco office where I worked, or a Bainie I met through any of the global training events. For example, when I was in Tokyo, I would reach out to all the Bainies I knew who worked at the Bain Tokyo office during the same time I was at Bain. And it doesn't stop at Tokyo. Every time I'm in a new city, I always look up that list. And you can imagine it's pretty easy to do because Bain has one of the largest networks out there. It's one of the best feelings to know is that when you're in a new place, you already have a network to fall on. Mentorship. I'm still in touch with so many of my mentors from Bain. I actually call them my Jedi Master Council. Some of them were partners or are now partners at Bain. Even those who have left Bain continue to support me to this day. My favorite thing about Bain was our internal model, which is a Bainie never lets another Bainie fail, which you could see professionally as well as personally. It meant that people were really invested in you. I'll share a story. Since I was in college, I've been a promoter and donor to Pencils of Promise, a nonprofit that builds schools around the world. Before Bain, I was a volunteer, and after joining Bain, I continued to be a volunteer. In fact, a percentage of the profits that we make at my consulting offer gets donated to Pencils of Promise every single year. When I was at Bain, I was part of the West Coast leadership team for Pencils of Promise, and I was tasked with raising $30,000 to fund 3 new schools. One Thursday afternoon, I sent an email to an office explaining my goal and why I was a promoter of Pencils of Promise, and by the end of the following week, we had raised the entire amount. My favorite project at Bain was helping a low-income school system located in the San Francisco Bay Area figure out a way to retain its best teachers. As I mentioned earlier, prior to college and prior to Bain, I grew up in a single-parent household, and like many of the people in my community, I grew up with my mom living below the poverty line. I could relate to the challenges that this school system was facing because they were similar to the ones that I faced when I was growing up and attending a low-income school system. The problem that we were working with the local school system is how can they retain their best teachers when they're surrounded by richer, more affluent communities. For example, a school system where Facebook was located and another school system where Google was located and could afford to pay the teachers way more than this local low-income school system. This school system was really struggling to retain great talent, and we were brought in as a pro bono case team to figure out a solution for them. This project was impactful because I got to sit down and interview over 100 different teachers about what keeps them in the school system or what made them leave. I got to build out employee retention programs and also think about the strategic question of how do you retain great talent when you can't just offer them more money? After the project, I continued to be involved with the school system. In fact, I continued many Saturdays to commute down to the area when I could to volunteer with the teachers and with the students, often tutoring, often working with the teachers or sharing my own stories as well. I would check in with our clients about how we were doing, but also at the same time, volunteer at the library where a lot of the students would meet and teach lessons or mentor students who were getting ready to go to college. I wanted to know how our recommendations were doing after they were rolled out. In fact, even during my time at Bain, I would organize semi-annual events where we actually went down and mentored the kids as they're preparing for high school exams or for the high schoolers how to get into college. And we even set up sessions to teach teachers how to use Excel to keep track of their students' progress. And by the way, if you're interested in becoming a management consultant at a firm like Bain or any other amazing consulting firm, my team and I would love to help you. If you check the link below, there's a way for you to book a free 30-minute strategy session with my team. We'll walk you through step by step how you can become a management consultant. So far, I've shared with you all the things I loved about working at Bain, but it wasn't always perfect. There are also things that I didn't like about my time at Bain. The hours you put on a Bain will depend on your project and your team. For example, if the project has a fast turnaround time, you might work late nights. If the project is pro bono, you might have fewer hours and no late nights. I'll give you examples of extremes as well as my norm. While I was on the pro bono project, my average day started around 7 a.m. since our team wanted to start early, but we would be done around 5 p.m. So I cooked dinner each night and went to the gym in the evenings. When I was working on a particular 2-week private equity deal with multiple interested buyers, I worked from 6 a.m. until 3 a.m. those days, and I also had to work on the weekends. That was the extreme. An average schedule for me started with me in the office around 8 a.m. and clocking out and going home around 9 p.m. And this would happen Monday through Thursday. With Friday, I would usually check out around 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. And I usually did not work on the weekends. There was only 2 cases I ever had where the weekend work was much needed. This is one of the parts of working at Bain that I didn't like because not every project I worked on had predictable hours. Some would fluctuate. Oftentimes, I would have to reschedule dinners last minute with friends. I would buy concert tickets that I never got to attend. And I missed a lot of birthday parties.
That's awful.
The biggest advice I give to anyone entering management consulting is to take care of your health. Eat healthy, because when it's late at night and you're tired and you have more work to go, it's often very easy with your big consulting budget for dinner. If you're going to buy that steak or you're going to buy that lobster or you're going to buy that sushi or whatever you're craving, even pizza. But this is not going to be the best for your health. So what I used to do is if I knew I had a tough week ahead is I would pre-order my dinners because I knew that if you left me to my last minute to decide, I'm probably going to get the double burger with avocado on it because I'm just going to want something juicy to eat. But if I planned ahead and on Sunday nights, I would just lock in my dinner options, I would say, all right, great. Go ahead and order me a chicken and a salad every night from Monday to Thursday. That helped me be able to solve that issue with eating unhealthy. But it took me a while before I got to that rhythm. When I was on a travel case, instead of finding a hotel that was the best hotel, I would find a hotel that was the closest to the client so I can get there easily and had a great gym so I can actually work out. For me, that made my experience at Bain sustainable. I was able to come to work full of energy because I had prioritized my sleep, I had prioritized my eating habits, and I prioritized working out. And a lot of people don't do that. I joke that if you went on Facebook and saw 3 pictures of me, the before, the during, and the after Bain, you'll see me at 3 different weight classes. I was skinny in college and gained a lot of weight during my time at Bain, and I didn't lose it until years after Bain when I went back to a regular gym and eating routine. No one at Bain is going to look after your health except for you, so make it the most important thing. And this will differ because a lot of people won't know if consulting is for them long term until you've actually worked there and you saw what is next for you. Do you enjoy what your partners are doing? And do you want that lifestyle that the partner has? For me, whether or not you're suited for a career in consulting really comes down to 4 things. Is the lifestyle okay with you? If you're okay with working long hours and traveling a lot, then it might be. Consulting isn't for everyone because for some people, it's super important for them to know that they can have dinner with their family or that most nights they're going to be sleeping in their own bed. Are you okay with change? In consulting, you're always changing clients. And as a result, you're always going to need to develop different new skills and not just rely on the ones you already know. You're always going to be learning. Some people want stability. They want to know that they have a routine and they would be able to work with the same people day in and day out. In consulting, you don't get that. Even at the partner level, you're going to be working with a lot of different teams and a lot of different clients. Are you okay with being the voice behind the throne, but not sitting on the throne itself? A lot of people who are in consulting will one day leave to become the CEO, the COO, the general manager, chief strategy officer, or even chief revenue officer for companies like eBay, Facebook, Google, and so forth, because they want to see the direct impact of their work. If I ask you, name some famous CEOs, you might be able to name some. But if I ask you, name some famous management consultants, that might be harder. As we often said when we were in consulting, consultants are the voice behind the throne, but we're not actually sitting on the throne. Are you someone who will always be ready to learn? There are always new technologies coming out, new dashboards, new problems to solve. So you'll always be pushed to learn, especially at the partner level, where you're basically learning how to sell new projects. Again, someone can enjoy owning the data as an analyst and then managing the team as a manager. But if they don't enjoy selling the projects or maintaining the client relationships at the partner level, consulting might not be the long-term career path for them. I find that people who stay in consulting the longest are the ones who really enjoy the work. Otherwise, they would have burnt out long before they had a senior position at the consulting firms. A lot of people leave consulting for one of the reasons I just mentioned. And since you made it to the end, I'm going to walk you through why I chose Bain over McKinsey, BCG, and all the other amazing firms I could have worked at. My goal is to make sure that Bain is the right choice for you. For me, it would be the local staffing model as well as the culture that comes from having a local staffing model. It's important to get to know the people at the firm you are potentially going to work with, so I recommend you network during your recruiting process. I could tell from the people I met at Bain, even before I accepted my job offer, that Bain is where I wanted to be. After helping over 600 people get jobs in management consulting, along the way, a lot of them got offers at Bain& Company. And I actually advised them to turn away Bain & Company because it wouldn't be where they would thrive. Like picking a spouse or a university, what might be a good fit for one person might not be a good fit for you. So there you have it, my 100% honest opinion about working at Bain & Company. Now, if you're 100% serious about working in management consulting, my team and I want to help you. In the link in the description below, I put a link towards how you can book a free 30-minute strategy session with my team. At my consulting offer, we've helped over 600 people land their dream consulting offer at firms like Bain & Company. And I want you to be our next success story. But you don't have to take my word for it. Hear from Toon about what it was like to join our program.